What's going on, guys? So this is just going to be a raw, unfiltered content for you from me on a consistent basis. So I thought this was really cool. I wanted to share. First off, this is the book, As a Man Thinketh. It's written in like 1908 or something like that. So old, ancient wisdom. But I finally tied some things together here, right? So there's a couple concepts that like really stood out to me. The one is he's talking about meditation specifically, and he's saying when aspiration is united to concentration, the result is meditation. And then he goes on to talk more about it, but he talks about concentration. We all know what concentration is. For me personally, I had to look up aspiration. And so, aspiration, I'll give the definition to you right now in case you didn't know it. Definition of aspiration: a hope or ambition of achieving something, right? And so it's basically hope and ambition. When hope and ambition are united with concentration, the result is meditation, right? So this is really powerful for me for two reasons. One, reading a book like this, there's a lot of challenging words in it. And I'm realizing that if I don't know the true definition of the word, how can I actually get the concept? I just started reading as well this morning, the Tao Te Ching, and I had to reread it like 3 times and then take some time to interpret it. Before, it just flew completely over my head. Now I think I have like leveled up to a point where I can actually understand it, which is really interesting. So um, the book talks more about why meditation is important, this chapter specifically, and so on. But then the next thing that I found was really interesting is he's talking about eventually you will acquire the truth, right? And capital T truth, whatever that means. Now, once you develop or once you find the truth, you start to turn towards the path of self-purification. And what is the self-purification? Well, this is like the inner work. This is like the challenging stuff. He then talks about like the actual principle of meditation is, for one, to purify the heart by repetitive thought on pure things. And for two, the attainment of divine knowledge by embodying such purity in practical life. So first, it's like purify the heart by thinking of good things, right? We all have all these bad things that we're thinking about, right? And it could be suppressed, bad things, from things that we're not proud of that happened in the past, whatever the case may be, right? So if we're constantly repressing them, the concept of the shadow from Carl Jung is like, if we constantly repress something, it shows up in our life. And so what I'm interpreting this as, and what this feels like to me, how I understand it, is that there comes a point in your life when you discover the truth, right? You can decide what the truth is, right? Like for me right now, I think this map is true. Is it the truth? No. And that comes into that's a map. It's not the territory. It can't possibly describe existence in a whole in just that one image, right? So that's a useful map to understand some of these concepts. Now, when we find what the truth is, it now becomes a process of, okay, we realize that we screwed up in the past. We realize that we did things in the past that weren't ideal. And we've just decided from there, okay, for one, I'm not going to do those things anymore, right? I vowed not to do them. I'm not interested in doing them anymore. And for two, we need to go through some kind of a purification process, right? And this can be meditation, right? So if you're doing a silent meditation, a lot of thoughts, a lot of things from the past come up, right? And then you're kind of forced to deal with them, right? The subconscious mind has been holding onto them, potentially holding you down, right? Especially if it's something that you're really not proud of, right? So this purification process, first off, allows these things to come up. You get to contemplate them. You get to forgive yourself, for example. This is going to allow you to move up on the scale of like this map of consciousness, but just in general, this is going to help you in your purification process. Now, as you're going through that process of releasing, then this book, As a Man Thinketh, is talking about repetitive thought on pure things, right? So if we can audit our thoughts and realize when we catch ourselves in a lower vibration thought, right? When we catch ourselves in anger or fear or desire, right? We can at least notice. And then if we erase or remove that thought, find a way to pattern interrupt, move out of that thought and move into more pure thoughts, thoughts of love, thoughts of joy. Then, for one, we can raise our energy. For two, then we can direct that back into our life. So the mistake that I initially made was like, I learned this concept and I was like, I want to teach it right away, right? That's kind of my style anyway, is I really like teaching things. And I know that the more that I teach them, the more I learn these things. But anyway, I hadn't done the internal work yet. And so because I hadn't done the work, I kept slipping up. I kept giving into vices, giving into desire, having fear about what it would be like to post a video like this, and so on, right? And so that kept me in inaction. And what I realized was when I really focused on the process, right, of doing the practices, of being consistent. For example, I don't know how many days, it's October now. I think all of the days of October, I've had a consistent daily morning meditation practice. And that has been extremely beneficial. So all of these things tie together in such an incredible way. I then went over and searched a specific word that I didn't understand. So he was talking about action in repose, and this blew me away. Okay, so I'm going to do some further writing on this topic, but action in repose, we just break everything down to understand it. So specifically in this book and in general, what James Allen is talking about is first repose, which is a state where one's inner tranquility and calmness is so profound that it naturally leads to effective and purposeful action. Right? So that is action in repose, right? You're so in alignment and you're so calm internally that you naturally have effective actions, purposeful actions, right? Thought turns into habit, which turns into action and shapes our life. And so inner repose, if we just talk about repose, right? If we remove the action, this is a mind that is clear, a mind that is focused and undisturbed. And this is achieved through positive thinking and self-discipline. Right? So this is just discipline, pure good thinking, right? Now, action, obviously, that word manifestation of inner thought and character, right? So what Alan says, I just mentioned it before, but actions are the visible expression of one's dominant thoughts. So whatever your actions are because of what you're consistently thinking about. Now, action in repose, if we blend this concept together, is true effectiveness in your actions comes from a place of deep inner peace. So when you achieve a state of mental clarity and calmness, your actions become more deliberate, they become more powerful and aligned with your highest ideals. And so that's what action in repose, I have taken these concepts. It's funny. I read a page and a half of this book and I came up with all this. And I also tied it in a little bit to what I was learning and reading in the Tao Te Ching as well. But I hope that's helpful for you. I hope that's exciting or interesting for you, just my dissection of this, because I have absolutely come to a point where I have realized, okay, the life that I was living in the past, the mountains that I was climbing, sometimes figuratively, right? Like when I was really into rock climbing, that is not ultimately the game that I want to play. And so I have found the game that I want to play, right? Which is advancing teachings like this, advancing education, and helping people become aware of energy, of their vibration, of what they can do to enhance their life. And so now that I have that clarity of this is how I want to live my life, I personally need to step in and embody it even more, right? So I think this is a constant, the way that I understand it, this is a constant progression of you getting better, right? And as you get better, you can effectively, just like anything, show somebody the way who is behind you. So as I've been looking over, contemplating, studying these concepts, and more importantly, doing the practices daily, which for me right now consists of daily meditation. Recently, I've been doing Kundalini meditation with Harjad, which is new to me and incredibly interesting. I've also, taken sun early in the day, exercised, and then some form of conscious breath work, which a lot of time Kundalini has, but sometimes just on my own, like a Wim Hof method or something where I'm controlling my breath. And last, it's funny because this one feels like the most important, and for whatever reason, it's like escaping. Okay, last is writing my thoughts, journaling, right? And so I'm actually going to turn this act of creating, this act of making videos for you, into a combination of writing and creating, right? When I create videos, this allows me to further refine my idea of the concept, put it out into the world, get feedback from people. So if you really resonate with this, let me know. I would love to hear from you. So send me a message and let's talk about it further. But it was super fun creating this for you. I'm going to continue. I'm actually just going to go dive back into this book, and then I've got 3 other ones right here next to me. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you soon.